Shenandoah Valley Battlefields National Historic District. Lifelong Civil War buff. I've got a history degree from Liberty University, and I've been doing this with the foundation as a worker for about 2 years. Before that, police officer. I've been a volunteer since he was a baby back here. This is Jack Owens. He's our chief ranger, basically. He is a young guy, but very instrumental in saving a lot of the property that we get to walk around here. He's very good at interpretation and things. So definitely come out and see some of his talks when he gets the chance to do it. He was unfortunately tied up this morning. So the Battle of Port Republic. This is Jackson's final battle of his famous Shenandoah Valley campaign. And we'll talk a little bit about, I feel like I gotta eat this mic in order for it to work. We'll talk again, we'll just do a very quick recap of how we got here. For those of you who were here this morning, it's just that you heard it earlier, but Jackson has scared Washington, D.C. with the Battle of Kernstown. By the time we get to May, he's starting to amp it up again. He goes over to McDowell, fights a battle there, wins it, comes back here into the valley. He's going to move up toward Front Royal, win a decisive victory there, continue forward. He's going to make a decisive victory at Winchester, and then he's going to go all the way up to Martinsburg. He's going to end up turning around as he's now got 2 Union forces coming toward him, one under James Shields and one under John C. Fremont. Just to remind you what these guys look like. Let's see, here's Stonewall Jackson, old Blue Eye, old Tom Fool, whatever you want to call him. And we'll talk about that guy in a minute, and that guy. John C. Fremont. This guy is to the west of us. The day before, he has fought a battle at Cross Keys. Now, Fremont has the opportunity, probably the best opportunity, to actually capture Jackson near Strasburg, or lower than Strasburg. Instead, he decides to kind of turn north and go toward, to meet up with James Shields, who is this guy right here. If you were here this morning, you heard me tell you, Shields takes a lot of credit for a lot of things. Battle of Kernstown, he was wounded, he wasn't there. The Battle of Port Republic, he's not here. He's in command, but he's not here. He's in Conrad's store, which is present-day Elton. So Jackson gets down. As he's moving back up the valley, the Shenandoah Valley runs weird because the Shenandoah River runs weird. If we're going south, we're going up. If we're going north, we're going down. As Jackson's moving up the valley toward this location, he has been burning bridges along the way. This is to keep the two armies from combining into one big army. He cannot stop them if they're one big army. He's got enough to be able to even split his army and hold them at bay. He's going to do that when he gets down here to Port Republic. He's going to send Richard S. Ewell all the way to Cross Keys with about 5,800 men. Facing him will be Fremont with 11,500 men. Ewell is going to stop Fremont on June 8th. We talked about before that battle even happens, Jackson's near escape. The man is wore out by this time. I mean, he's been chased through town, done a 600-mile campaign in 2 months. He's wore out. And we talked about up there when that soldier came up and said, General, they're Italian, that he said, we'll go fight him. It's possible that he was asleep on the bed when he said that. So that's how tired he was. Jackson's plan for the next day, now that Fremont has been stopped at Cross Keys, Jackson's plan is to move out around 5 a.m. One of the problems is Jackson doesn't always get along with his subordinates. The one guy we talked about earlier, Tolliver, even though it should be Talavera, it's Tolliver. He and Jackson do not get along. The day before, Tolliver has come down and been able to push the Yankees out of Port Republic. The next day, he is the closest unit. He should be able to cross. 5 a.m., let's get on the field. I want to be on the field at 5. Jackson calls up the Stonewall Brigade, who's at the back. He leaves Tolliver sitting here, which delays his advancement to the Battle of Port Republic. Tolliver will be the last link that links with Ewell. Ewell has been retreating since that early morning. He's been coming this way, not necessarily a retreat, but he's been backtracking, bringing up the rear of Jackson's army. Fremont has moved out, trying to get a hold on the Confederates. He's thinking about an attack. He's in full line of battle. As he marches, that takes a long time. You got to go through over fences, around barns, through somebody's house. You've got to go a long way. And then when you figure out, okay, the Confederates aren't here, you have to get in line. You got to get in column and march down the road. That takes a lot of time to get back into column. So Fremont, very cautious, kind of wasted some time, not purposely, but doesn't know where the Confederates are. Ewell has been pulling back this way, and it'll take him most of the day to get back here, but he'll get back here in time. So Tolliver, almost said Tolliver, Tolliver is up here. When Jackson goes to cross, now this is not a picture of it, but we all know what Civil War wagons look like. They don't look very, I mean, they're good for wagons, but would you want to walk across something like this? Yeah, I wouldn't either. So what they did, and for you, those of you that were here with Jay at 2 o'clock, he even spoke about how they put these wagons in the river, put planks across them and made a bridge. They marched out in cadence. You know, when they did that, everything starts moving. The river does not like that. The river starts moving. And there's even an account, I can't remember what soldier it is, but he's on the other side of the river, and he's basically saying we were watching to see if our comrades fell in. Because they'd already crossed, they're good. So they end up, and then they're going to bring artillery across there as well. So it's a very rickety bridge. After they begin crossing, they're not going to get onto the field till about 6 a.m. You're going to have, you can look on yours, like I said, the only difference really on your map and the one that I have here is Ewell is already across the river, and you see Fremont on your map, so it's the end phase of the map. But I'll show you mine here. You can see Ewell was coming back from Cross Keys. These guys have started crossing. Jackson is going to send his units in. He's thinking he outnumbers, and theoretically he does outnumber the Union troops over here, but the Union is in a great position. In that morning phase of the battle, Jackson does not outnumber those troops. The Yankees actually outnumber him. They've got about 3,500. And as I said, Shields is not here. Although he didn't claim this one because he lost. You know, had he won, he'd have been like, yeah, I did it, you know. This guy's, he's something. This guy here, he's a neat looking guy. E.B. Taylor. All right, or Tyler, sorry. Taylor's the other guy. This is a hard battle to interpret because you got Taylor and Tyler fighting each other. Anyway, Tyler, he is in command here. He has put his forces out basically if you go over to the Lewiston Road near the Coaling, that is the Union line. That's perfect where that line is. Most of the Confederates are going to be on that same line, just coming opposite way. So if you look on your map, you see the Lewiston Road right here. Just past that, you'll have the 7th Indiana, 29th Ohio, 7th Ohio, 5th Ohio, and the 1st Virginia. Later, the West Virginians. But they're Virginians at this time because West Virginia's not a state until 1863. And some would say still not a state today. Kind of have to have all the states to ratify that. But anyway, that's not my job. You can see the Confederates are flanked here on the left by the river, Jones Island. It's a little island, well, it's that way. Little island down here along the river, where the river kind of splits around it again and comes back together. The 7th Indiana's flank is sitting on that. The 5th Virginia is going to come up, and they're going to be the far Confederate left. Jackson, as units come up, he's pushing them into battle. One of the biggest problems with the Battle of Port Republic is this little place here called the Coaling. Now, we were talking about the coaling earlier. What is the coaling? The coaling is where they make coal. It was devoid of trees, mostly. It's a big hillside. If you go up there today, it has been modified a little bit because there's a house that sits up there now, a driveway. That stuff obviously wasn't there. The hill was still steep. The guns we know, if you look at the property that's been preserved, you'll see a roadway. That is the original roadway. 340 actually would have ran down from Conrad's store, cut kind of near the coaling where these guns are, and come back out onto present day 340. 340 basically ends over this way. The guns that are down there are under a man named Huntington. He doesn't get to fire his guns right away because the guns he's using are a little bit odd. He's got some odd guns with him. The shells that he's using have paper mache to them. It's been raining. Those shells don't work. So he's got to wait till they dry in order to use them. Luckily, there's not a major attack right there at that particular point in time. So he's got 3 guns there. One of his other guns is down here by the river. You've got a guy named, we talked about Robinson earlier here at Jackson's Narrow Escape. Robinson, it said that he had 1 gun, and then there's some accounts that say he had 2. I believe he had 1. Most accounts say 1 because the other gun was here and captured on June 8th after they crossed the river. So I believe most everything says Robinson had 1 gun. Then you have Clark. Clark is going to be farther up, and he's going to be in the coal pit. It's at the top of the coaling. Those guns, he has 3 of them. They're rifled. This is hell on earth for these Confederates. These guys are firing like crazy, and they're in an open field. If you go over there, it's open farmland. There's nothing to save you. They are taking massive artillery fire from the coaling. They are taking shots from here. Jackson is going to send the 2nd and 4th Virginia toward the coaling because he realizes right away the coaling is a major part of this battle. If I can't take the coaling, I'm not going to win this battle. On top of it, he's kind of rushing. You know, he's not just rushing units in because, oh yeah, let's do that. He knows John C. Fremont is still coming. Ewell stopped him, but Ewell didn't defeat him and run him off. Ewell did what he was supposed to, stopped him for the day until Jackson could get his forces where he wanted them. Even with the scare the day before here in Port Republic, Jackson now knows what to do, but he knows Fremont's coming. So as those units come in, that seems to be the reason he's pushing them in. He's got to defeat Shields quick. If they get together, he can't defeat them. The 2nd and 4th Virginia attack the coaling. They don't even get up the hill. They are turned and have to retreat. They will actually get a little upset because when they retreat, they'll reform, but then they're put at the back of the line because they ran away. They're not happy about it. They actually there's some curse words that I won't say that are said between them and some in the diaries. What's going to end up happening is the fighting is going back and forth out here. The Confederates are going to be dropping back. They're going to go forward. Ironically, the 5th Virginia and the 7th Indiana, when the Confederate right pulls back and the Union left kind of moves forward, the 7th Indiana and the 5th Virginia keep fighting each other in the same line. Even when there's a little bit lull in the battle, they aren't realizing anything's going on over here. They're paying attention to what's going on. They don't have to look to their left flank or their right flank. They have the river. So they're not really paying attention. These guys that have moved away, they have their own little civil war for a little bit until they start looking and going, oh, okay, we don't have any units with us. We have no backup. We need to get out of here. We talked about William Pope bringing up his artillery the day before and driving the Yankees out. Pope's going to be over here with his 2 guns. He's going to unliver them in the field and start shooting, but they're no match for the guns on the coaling. We have 7 guns firing at us from the coaling. He's no match for them. As Ewell's troops start to come in, you'll see how the 31st Virginia comes across. With the 7th Louisiana, they're going to come out, and they're actually going to be in this middle area. The rest of the Louisianians are going to start going up along this wood line. They're going to go into the woods. Their sole job is to attack the coaling. Now, the troops that he's using, these are Jackson's crack troops. These guys are, not that they weren't crack. I mean, they may have been. They were kind of rough and tumbly. These guys are scary. These are Louisiana Tigers. They are criminals. They probably had the choice to go in the Army or jail. They chose the Army. You get to kill people for free and not get yelled at. So yeah, you don't get in trouble for it. These guys are rowdy. and there's two big guys that are in command, and we'll get to them in just a second, but Jackson knows that he can count on them. So he sends them, as soon as they come up, he sends them into the woodline. Now these guys the day before had not actually been involved in the Battle of Cross Keys, but they were not here in Port Republic. They were at Cross Keys. They were behind Mill Creek Church, present-day Mill Creek Church. They are in line of battle. They never fire a shot there. They're the backup. That's the only units Jackson sends up that way. So they just marched down here. Now they're getting up here into the fight. One of the 7th Louisiana Union sergeant named John Hadley, as he's talking about the fighting down here, says they poured a volley into our ranks when we, without delay, returned the compliment. Here was the place to try men's souls. It just kind of tells you what's happening down there. If you can imagine you're lined up against somebody, sometimes we might be as far away as we are right now. We're firing, and then we've got artillery falling on us. The Confederate artillery is just no match. So those Tigers, as I said, they are going to be under the main command of this guy. The Louisiana troops are under Richard Taylor. So I said we have Tyler and Taylor fighting each other. Richard Taylor. The guys respect him. He's a good general. He ends up kind of keeping those rowdy guys away. And the only reason he actually does that is because he's got these two wonderful guys. And here's, I meant to show you this. This is a picture of Tolliver. This is him and Jackson don't get along. This is Tolliver. But the two guys that he has are big men. For those of you who don't know, this is Richard Ewell. This guy here, Chatham Robideau Wheat. If you look up, actually it might be here on the map, you'll see the Louisiana troop. You'll see Wheat next to the 6th Louisiana. I told you 7th or 6th Louisiana is that flank. You'll see Wheat there. He had a special battalion. That's the original Tigers. Just so you know what the Tigers look like. These guys are very noticeable on a battlefield. They're wearing like the French pantaloons. They're ruthless. We actually had a preservation event here in 2016. We had guys that were dressed like the Louisiana Tigers, and it was absolutely awesome. One guy looked exactly like his relative, shaved his head and everything. It was kind of weird, but I got a great shot of them sitting by the river down here in full uniform. It was a really neat thing to see. But that's the Tigers. The other guy they got is this guy, William Peck. Now, from Civil War standards, let's just go back here and we'll look at Shields. He's a pretty skinny guy, probably not very tall. Now let's look at Robideau Wheat. That's a big man. Look at Peck. That's another big man. It's said that Jackson and the soldiers watched the battle for the coaling by following these two guys on horseback. It's very possible. They're both over 6 foot. Oh, thanks. They're both over 6 foot. They're close to 300 pounds. One says Robideau Wheat was like 264. Okay. Scales might not have been as accurate back then as they are now. I would say Wheat probably close to 300, and Peck's right there with him. Wheat sadly will be killed at Gaines Mill just a few weeks later. Peck will actually be in command of the Tigers for a little while. I believe he makes it to general. The Tigers do that first attack. They get there. When they attack the coaling, they're able to drive the Yankees away. They take the guns. Battle's over, right? The 66 Ohio happens to be in the area. They come flying up the hill and force the Tigers back, retaking the guns. The Tigers go down to the bottom of the hill, regroup. Now, mind you, the fighting is still going on out here. The guns not only are firing at the Louisianians, they're still firing out into the fields. The Tigers regroup. They hit them a second time. Now, this is the third attack on the coaling. They hit them a second time. Take the guns again. This time, they slit the throats of the horses. They can't take them. You're not going to drag the guns off now. One of Huntington's guns actually gets out of dodge and then comes back and unlimbers and starts shooting again. Again, The Union troops, the artillerymen, are fighting with their implements. They are up there hitting them with the sponges, everything they have, the worms, all that, using small arms fire, and a lot of them are going to get killed right there on the coal. But they're going to fight, and they're going to keep their guns, even though the horses got their throats slit. The Tigers are going to go down, and they're spent. If you've ever walked on the coaling, it's a heck of a hill. To walk the way that they did through those woods, it's this. These guys were tired. They just walked from Cross Keys down here. Then just had to go up to the hardest part of the fight. Every spot, as Bob Craig says, has a hell point. Every battle does. The coaling is that hell point for Port Republic. Meanwhile, as that's still going on, the rest of Ewell's troops are coming on. They're going to end up burning the North River Bridge. This is going to keep that guy Fremont, who's being cautious, it's going to keep him on that side of the river. They burn the bridge. There's some light skirmishing that happens there, but they burn the bridge and hightail it out here to help Jackson. Ewell shows up, goes into the wood line. An attack by the, make sure I got him right here. Yeah, 58th, 25th Virginia will actually happen over in here somewhere. Actually, maybe a little farther. As some of the Union troops come up here, driving the Confederates back. They are going to come in on the flank and drive the Yankees back. Meanwhile, the Tigers, the Louisiana troops, are regrouping, deciding whether they want to go up. Here comes, as they call him, old Baldhead, and we'll look at you again. You guys can maybe figure out why he's called old Baldhead. Some of you saw him earlier. I don't know why you would call him that. I think that's a pretty haircut. And for those of you who don't know, I have the same haircut. Anyway, Ewell gets there, and he gets in front of the Tigers, and he says, "Men, you know me. Gerald Jackson wants us to take those guns." Well, they just take off. No orders. No order. The Tigers were like, okay, for lack of better terms, let's just throw stuff down, let's go. And they did. They charge up the hill. This is their third charge. As they go up, now I can't get it up. As they go up the hill, they take the guns. They drive the Yankees off. The Union now does not have the artillery position. The Battle of Port Republic is now completely in Confederate hands. They are going to turn any guns that they get that they haven't spiked. Some of the Union troops, as they knew this was happening, actually spike the guns. It's where they make it to where it cannot be fired. The Confederates are going to capture several guns. One of Huntington's guns will make it out of there. One limber is completely blown up, so that gun's not able to be moved. Most of the horses are dead, but they do get one gun out. I believe all of Clark's guns are captured. Now, Clark does actually have 4 guns. He's going to have a gun down by the river as well. Huntington's gun stays down there during this. As the Louisianians on their second attack are taking it, Clark's extra gun comes up and actually starts firing up the coaling at them. That's one of the reasons they had to retreat. But this time, all those guns are captured except for one of Huntington's. Robinson's gun, easily captured. It was a howitzer. It's not going to move very far. And it's said that when they built the house up there in that area, they actually discovered where I guess they had piled the horses and burned the flesh, just because it's easier to burn the dead animals, that they found a pile of bones up there. That's a wise tale I've heard. I've not been able to confirm that 100%, but it's probably accurate. Jackson will now outnumbers. He's got about 6,000 men by the time the evening part of this battle happens. The battle's only about 5 hours long, really. The Yankees are now going to start retreating, and the Confederates are going to chase them. They're going to start going back toward Conrad's store and the rest of James Shields' army. Jackson will let his forces chase him for a bit, then he will come back here, and he will actually go up into Brown's Gap for about 7 days and rest. Meanwhile, I should point out too that Fremont does make it here, but he can't get across the bridge. So if you look at your map there, you'll see where Fremont comes. Fremont's now mad because he didn't, do anything. He's going to line up right here along Lawyer, right here, just below Lawyer Road. there's a place called Bogota here. There's a neat story of the residents of Linwood coming across on like a mattress. One lady's pregnant or got a baby, and the slaves get her across there. And they go hide in Bogota and watch the battle. Bogota is still there. Linwood is still there. They are going to get to that area, and Fremont is just going to start bombarding the area here. He's just going to start shooting his cannons over there. Well, he's hitting his own wounded men on top of it. He's just, sorry, Fremont's not that great. He's got his moments. After that, Fremont's going to kind of move his way out of the valley. Shields is going to back up. Jackson, after that 7-day lull, is going to move to Richmond. And he's going to show up down on the Peninsula campaign, where he doesn't have such a great, or 7 days actually is what it turns into. He doesn't have such a great record down there. Possibly because, yes, fatigued, but you have to remember he's just done a 2-month campaign, 600 miles, fought 5 major battles. This battle being the end of his famous Valley campaign. He's probably tired. He also rode all night and then rode all the way back to get his army and made some assumptions of what his army could do that it probably couldn't do by marching. Obviously, we all know if we go down to the Tidewater, it's a little hotter down there, especially in the summer, June. You're getting hit by mosquitoes and everything else, even more than here in the valley. That's going to wear on you. Jackson believes his men are capable of anything. They're called the foot cavalry. I mean, I'm sorry, I can't walk 600 miles in 2 months, especially fighting 5 major battles. But the Battle of Port Republic ends the Jackson Valley campaign and cements Jackson as one of the greatest Confederate generals, one of the greatest American generals to fight in the Civil War. This campaign keeps Union troops from going to the peninsula and assisting George McClellan, playing into his psyche. He gets to the gates of Richmond and can't take Richmond because he doesn't think he has enough men, because there's men here. Some 60,000 troops are diverted to the valley, to the Shenandoah Valley, because of what Jackson is doing here. That's a major, major thing. If you're telling me that many troops are coming here, I'm getting upset, especially if I'm McClellan, who's been doing a snail's pace up the peninsula anyway. The troops are frustrated. This is a frustrating time for the Union Army. We'll go to the 7 days, and you actually will only lose 1 battle there, but they will be beaten back all the way to Harrison's Landing. And then Lee and Jackson will continue their partnership on up through 2nd Manassas into Antietam, Fredericksburg, all the way to Chancellorsville, where Jackson will ultimately die, not from being shot, but probably from pneumonia is what it seems like. He actually recovers from his wounds, has to have an army. So, any questions on the Battle of Port Republic?
Was there any fighting in the streets of this battle?
So, during the 9th, may have been a little bit of skirmishing with the vanguard of Fremont's troops and the rear of Ewell. Not a whole lot, because once that bridge is burned, it's pretty much over. The day before, a lot of fighting here. That morning, Sam Carroll had, the Ohio troops had actually come across, they actually came across right in this area and split and went both ways, chasing Jackson down Main Street across the North River Bridge. I told them this earlier, my favorite thing about that is during all this chaos that's happening, the citizens are fleeing, there's artillery shells flying everywhere. Up here at the church, across from the church, is going to be his doctor, Hunter McGuire, and he's going to be cussing. I mean, just letting it fly. And all the ambulance drivers telling them if anybody leaves, I'm going to shoot the first man that does. And Jackson, as he's running, getting away to try to get reinforcements, stops while being pursued by Yankees, puts his hand on Hunter McGuire's shoulder and says, can't you tell these men the stuff you need to do without swearing at them? And Hunter's like, yeah, I tried to. And McGuire will get captured after that, as we talked about earlier. But that's one of my favorite things about Jackson. He also tries to tell a Union artillery gun what to do. And their account is, we just saw a Confederate officer doing like stuff like this. We didn't know what he was doing. They couldn't hear him across the bridge. But one reason that bridge is still there is because the day before, Carroll's got his orders mixed up. At one point, he's told to burn the bridge and pursue Jackson down toward Waynesboro. leave you on that side. He's also had orders to preserve that bridge so that Fremont and Shields can link. He goes with preserving the bridge. He is actually fires a gun up through the bridge at Jackson. And then as the 37th Virginia under Tolliver is coming down, he fires into the bridge in an attempt to knock it down. It doesn't work. So that bridge is still there. So that could have been a major thing that changes this on the day before. But yeah, so the fighting the next on the 9th, not so much here, but definitely the day before, not very many casualties, but a lot of artillery and musketry fire. Yes, sir.
Is Jones Island still there?
Jones Island is still there. As a matter of fact, Jack and I, we have to do easement stuff where we ride around and look and make sure no casinos have been popping up on battlefields and things like that, no brothels, stuff like that. You never know. It's the armpit of Rockingham County over here. You gotta watch. I love this area. But you can actually see Jones Island. We've been out on the field and come up along there, and Jones Island is still there. We've got some. If you go on our website, I think there is a photo, an aerial photo that really shows Jones Island in the middle, right there at the river. So it's a neat place when you're out there. Maybe one day we'll be able to take a tour all the way out there. When you're standing in the position of the 5th Virginia, you realize how close the coaling really is to where you're at, and how it would absolutely stink to be a soldier right there. Right. I know this one was we didn't do much walking on this one. We did a lot of walking earlier. I think everybody else is we're all kind of tired anyway. So, any more questions? I'll just give somebody these papers. I will tell you, after the battle, this guy here, his name is Ned Moore. He says, what does he say? In the early afternoon hours of Monday, June 9th, 1862, he was a gunner serving with the Rockbridge Artillery. They end up, after the battle, resting in camp here near Port Republic. He says he's grateful to have survived the battle and still in a bit of amazement that the Army had escaped destruction, because he was down here when Carroll comes through. He says over the past 2 weeks, his battery had rolled up and down the Shenandoah Valley, hotly pursued by 3 Federal armies, all determined to hem in Stonewall's force. They nearly caught them at Cross Keys the day before, and the bitter fight for Port Republic the next day. So, and there's a little picture. This is supposedly a painting of Jackson with the Rockbridge Artillery at Port Republic, trying to direct them, telling them where to fire. Again, Confederate artillery is pretty ineffective against the Union on the cold. Well, thank you guys for coming out. I appreciate it. Some of you guys were here all day. I know we got some, North Carolina, right? Where you guys? I know you guys are local. Yeah, you guys are local.
I'm local.
You're local too. I know I've seen you before too. You've been out to playing college.
I'm a Maryland transplant.
Yeah, all right. And this lady over here, that's my wonderful wife. So, Jack, you have anything you'd like to add?
I gotta do my pitch.
He's got to do his pitch for preservation.
No, but again, thank you guys so much for coming out today. I wish I could have been here to see the whole thing throughout the day, but we were handling some of our work up, getting our visitor center sites and museums ready up in the Winchester area. So I was up there this morning. But huge thank you to our staff and our rangers, Aaron and Jay and Cindy, who's running the museum in there. If you got a chance, if it's not too late to swing in there, if you haven't already. But thank you guys so much, and I just want to give a huge thank you to the community of Port Republic for being gracious hosts during this transition. The Society of Preservationists of Port Republic ran and built that museum within. The Kemper House has been there for a while, but has been great stewards of the history of not only Port Republic but the Rockingham County area here. And just over time has come to transfer kind of the management of that to the Battlefields Foundation. It is now within the holdings of the National Historic District. So we're keeping the story of what they're telling in there, and the history of Port Republic, which it just creates this culture and this story that deserves to be told and needs to be told, and we hope to continue to be good stewards of this area. I was talking about it with our rangers that this is our 3rd year consistently doing something in the Port Republic, Cross Keys, Rockingham County, this central area. And we hope to continue to do that, whether it's a battle anniversary or just getting folks here to the upper Shenandoah Valley, and hope to get even more upper in a way, or south at Piedmont here in the future at that battlefield, and maybe Stanton and over McDowell.
Maybe even Waynesboro.
Maybe Waynesboro. So, but thank you all again. And speaking on that of the third year of doing something here, and Aaron speaking about the coaling a lot in his last talk here. 2 years ago in 2021, Aaron gave an amazing talk in front of the church over there. I don't know who all was there, but it was just this post-COVID time, and we wanted to do programs, and it was a huge turnout commemorating the Battle of Port Republic. And Aaron gave a wonderful talk at the base of the coaling, right where the 6th Louisiana, that left flank, charged through. And back then, 2 years ago, we had $264,000 left to preserve 107 acres at the coaling. And now I can stand here in front of you guys and say we're on the cusp of just announcing that preservation victory. Since then, we've been able to raise almost all the funds through donations, through our members, through applying for federal and state grants, and just in the next couple months, just finishing some paperwork and maybe stealing $5 from Aaron to file it away. We'll be able to do it. But I wanted to be able to let you folks know that not only that 5-acre parcel that the now American Battlefield Trust, where there's interpretive signage you can walk up, and that we now manage, that site's obviously preserved, but an additional 107 acres that was plotted and slotted and divided up to be developed, that seemed unfathomable with the amount, the price, that everyone's been able to come together, whether it's been through grants and then private donations. That was a $1.5 million preservation opportunity there, and that we've been able to accomplish with the help of history folks just like yourselves. So I want to be able to announce that, so here in the future we'll be able to combine these sites, this 5 acres, and hopefully clear some more land, so we're able to get the idea of what those troops had to charge up and what those troops had to defend ultimately. So I wanted to be able to announce that to you guys that we're just on the cusp. Within 2 years, ranging $264,000 is amazing. It's unfathomable, and we appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. And if you haven't been out to the coaling ever, you haven't been out to the Port Republic battlefield, the majority of that battlefield is preserved under easement, but it's still privately owned, still used as farmland, just as it was 160 years ago. The wheat fields that the soldiers were fighting through continue to be wheat fields, oftentimes, depending on the rotation. But we hope to interpret more. We hope to open up more of that coaling property. But if you haven't had a chance to drive out there, please do so.
If you want to take kind of the route of Jackson's troops, you cross the bridge and make your first left up here. It's like Tiger Camp Road. That turns into Jackson's Way. That road goes directly right down the middle of the battle.
Yeah.
You'll start seeing the fields on your left and right. The lady who was here this morning, Miss Kaler, who was with the Reuben Club selling chicken. They own the farms out there, some of the farms, and they are awesome as far as really trying to work with us and keep easements up, keep things preserved, and they know a lot of history too. If you see them on the road, definitely stop and talk to them, because they will let you know exactly what happened right there.
Yeah. A lot of these folks that live around here, they're descendants of the same names that are on these maps, that lived in these houses, that work these fields, that know this area. And to have those descendants today, and nowhere does it show more, I think, in the valley than Port Republic too. It's amazing. So we're so super happy to be a part of it and telling this story. And we're glad some folks can come on short notice and listen to it for a full day. So thank you guys so much. Yeah.
Fortunately, we're trying to build like 3 museums,
A couple visitor centers and preserve thousands of acres. So
yeah.
we appreciate you guys checking your emails or Facebook, however you found out about it. Thank you so much. And if you're looking for more programs, we're having our national conference in April. If you're interested in doing bus tours and speakers and that kind of stuff, that'll be in Manchester. Registration's getting pretty full now. And then in June, before that, May, we'll be doing a battle commemoration, May 13th, for the Battle of Newmarket. So that'll be happening. So keep
Come
posted
out
for
to that one. We're supposed to have a lot of artillery there. It's a guy that can certify.
Yeah,
we're certified, but to actually fire the cannons. So if you want to fire a cannon,
you're able to do that then, yeah.
I think that's a good trip for me.
Yeah. And
Happy
then,
Mother's Day.
and then in June we'll be commemorating the 160th anniversary of the Second Battle of Winchester, hoping to have another property, a massive property, 150 acres, $7 million property that we took on a couple years ago. Fingers crossed we're able to meet that goal there. And you know Kevin, our CEO, he's actually wanting to plan a preservation announcement day without the property being paid off. So he's hoping on all of our members to be able to get it done. So that's in June, and we hope to commemorate and get on the spots where the same Louisiana Tigers that are fighting at the coaling charge across open fields to take a fort known as West Fort during the Second Battle of Winchester. So we'll walk those fields, we'll go to Starford, we'll go to where one of the largest surrender of United States troops took place. We know that took place at Harper's Ferry, but half of Milroy's troops were captured, about 4,000 men at the Second Battle of Winchester. So it's a 3-day battle. We'll try to cover as much as we can in one day. So that'll be happening in June.
Also, the opening of the Gettysburg campaign.
Yeah, it happens there. So, and keep your eyes posted if you're looking for museums too. We hope to open the newly renovated, it was $750,000 renovation at the Shenandoah Valley Civil War Museum, which is located in the old Frederick County Courthouse on the walking mall there in Winchester. And it's going to be a state-of-the-art. You'll see every cent that was donated and given to help make this museum what it is. It'll be the most impressive museum in the Shenandoah Valley or this side of Virginia for sure. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Become a member so you get notified about all these events. It goes towards preservation. You get free into these new museums we're building. So thank you guys so much again, and give Aaron a round of applause.
Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it.
And if you're not on our
faces.
if you're not on our email list or you want information, just yell at us, grab us, and we'll make it happen. But I think you got a couple more minutes to check out the museum if you haven't already. So thank you guys again.
Thank you guys. Okay.
Years.
Yeah.
And on the right, there's a Civil War type fence.
Yes.
And I see signs of that.
So that is part of, yeah, well, sort of. It's going to be accessible more. So that is the Winter Tents Farm. The house that's being worked on, that guy is